Hi, welcome back to the Restoration Shack. Today I'm going to show you something a little bit different. So for the camera shake, I've got it in my hand. But you've seen me do lots of lowrider restorations. I've got a couple on the go now even. But I thought, well, once you've seen one lowrider, you've seen them all. Obviously there's the big build coming up, which I want you to stay tuned for. It should be really epic. But this one's just a little bit of something different. So I picked up 3 bikes, which you might have just seen a quick glimpse of them in a previous video. 2 of them have actually gone to a school that kids restore, so I've basically near enough donated those to the school. And this one I've retained because I just want to do something a little bit different with it. So the story behind this, which I've probably said before, is I bought the bikes from a bike recycler who basically does them up and then gives them to disadvantaged people, and also sells them to university students for getting about on. But certain bikes, such as this one and others which are either single speed or basically the old 3-speed Sturmy, aren't really good for them to sell because of the way they are. There's a lot of hills. So they basically either rob the parts off them or they end up scrapping them. So I've made an arrangement with them that I will pick up as many bikes as I can every so often, and see if I can either just do them up and then sell them just to fund other projects, or donate them, whichever way. So this one, the story behind this is the woman who owned it, I think she was about 86 and used to ride this one to school. So you've got to be talking 70 years old, so that puts that about 1950, maybe a little earlier. I've got to do a little bit of investigation on it, just to see what it is. So as you can see, if I just bring it a bit close up, so plenty of rust, but you've got the tubes there, the butter tube or old style there. It's got a lot of paint on it, so you've got this sort of, I don't know if it's like a blue or grey, it looks like household paint, it's not primer. Then through that you've got a light blue, and then under that you've got, I think what looks like the original dark blue. There's a lot of shine on that once you get to it, but I imagine throughout the bike there's a lot missing. And then you've got the chrome tops, which they've long gone, and stuff like that. So I think somewhere here we've got back there we've got the 3-speed Sturmy. So I've reconnected the cable up, because that kind of comes down and then goes to like a bevel, like a wheel down here, and then that sends it, you can see, follow me there, it kind of sends it through and back into the rear hub. Not quite sure what this side's for. I thought this was the pull that you have on a rally chopper, but as you can see on the other side, the chain is on the other side there. It's got a handmade pannier on the back, a rack on the back there, which is bolted in with a piece of wood. So like a lot of the old school stuff, it was made, you kind of rode what you got and then you made it work and you made repairs. Unlike now, it's more of a disposable culture. These were made, basically ridden and made to last. And then you've got a nice old Springer seat on there. So the tyres are shot, so if we're going around a bit, tyres are just cracked and shot, and they've got the old style Woods valves, so you've even got the cap still on it. So I'm going to try and get those inflated, see if the inner tubes hold air, and then in the front tyre is the same, it's split, it's gone, but it's once again it's got the old Woods valves on there. So I've got some replacement seals. So basically on the Woods valves, what normally happens is you've got your presser and your schrader, and then these are either Dunlop or Woods, whichever. But if you undo this, inside there you've got a little valve. So just let me take that out, show it you a bit better, bear with me, move it one-handed. So you've got these little valves, and what happens is the O-rings on the bottom, if you can see just where my thumbnail is, the O-rings, trying to zoom in and focus on it, just bear with me. The O-ring and there, the black O-ring perishes, so it ends up letting air pass and the tyres go down. People then think, well, I've got a puncture, but it actually turns out it's just this valve, and you can buy a set of these valves for a couple of £. So that's what I've got. So what I'll do is I will drop a couple in now, and then I'll come back to you in a moment when I've got you on the stand. So this is the kit. As you can see, you get most of the parts with it. So you get the new valve, the new clamp that kind of fastens it on, also a collar to put down to the rim to hold the inner tube up, and then a new cap. So it's dropping off like the plastic cap, but what I'll try and do if the tubes do hold air is I will replace those for the metal. So my plan is to basically put these caps on, or these new valves in, see what happens, but I'd like to put some better rims on, wider rims, like I've got on the beach cruisers, the 26-inch rims. I think it'll look better, it'd be easy to get tubes and tyres. So we'll do this, see if the inner tubes hold air, but I think really long term it's going to be a case of putting some better wheels on, but it depends which way we go with it. So it's as simple as I've took the old valve out, so basically we seat the new valve in there, put the new cap on there that retains the valve, leave it off a little bit because I need to inflate it, so just making sure that's got some play in it, because as soon as you fasten it down that locks the valve in and seals it. So just a little bit on there. Let's get my tube pump, so we'll see what we can get. Like I say, I'm not holding a lot of hope, but the valves were £2 for a set. Well, I think they were £4 and I got 4, so £1 each. And if the tubes hold air, great. If they don't, well, I've got them for a different buy later on. Well, so far, so good. It's got 40 psi in there, so take that off and then quickly seal that up, locking it off. Yep, that one so far. So what I'll do is I'll probably leave them 24 hours and see. We've got a massive bulge there, so yeah, the tyre is totally shot. I think what I'll do is, well, we'll leave that for now. It's not going to catch anything, but yeah, that's the tyre definitely needs to change on that. So just try the other side. So the rear first. Same again. It's got a little valve that I seem to keep dropping, and then the end caps. Wind that in. That's it. Sorry that you can't see me down this far away. And that one is shot, so I can hear as I'm trying to inflate it, I can feel the air coming out the bottom there, so I think this valve is actually ripped from the inner tube. So once again, another reason probably why to try and put some different wheels and tyres on. So I can't actually remember this sizing on this, and these are so perished I can't see any wording on them, but just give me a second. I think what we're going to try is a new wheel on here, so I've just grabbed a quick one off the rack, which is one of the beach cruiser wheels, which are 26-inch. Just going to see what we can do, see if it even fits, and then like I say, I'll have to do some investigation on these. Here we go. They are 26 by 1 1/4, it says on there, so I'll have to see what I can find on the internet with those, but the rims are pretty bad as well, so I think these will be too wide, but it'd be quite awesome if they do fit. So let's see what we've got. axle's too big. Yeah, the axle on these are too big for the forks. And I think also, even if we get the axle on, we're going to be short. Actually, we could probably do something with that. So looking at that, if I can line that up with the centre of the axle, we're going to be a bit shy on the brakes, but these are hub brakes on the front. I could manufacture something to fasten it to, or I could probably drop the blocks on this down to the edge. I'd like to see what it actually looks like, so I might have to, once I've done I'm doing the camera editing, just to see if it even looks any good, because I can't see from here as on the entire bike. So I think what we'll do is we'll leave that off, put the old rim in. I'll just have a little think about the axle, whether I put I don't really want to widen that out because I could end up weakening it, whether there's a better way of just doing a different axle on there. I don't really want to do anything with the forks, but even then I could maybe put a Springer front on, but I've still got the issue at the back with the axle being too small. I think a bit of thought offline about that, so I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to try and just have a quick look at this paint, see what's underneath there, see if we've got anything left of the original paint. So I think first I'm just taking a flat blade on the knife and seeing what we've got. Just scraping some of the it's taking paint up. So I think what we'll do is I've got some wire wool, and see if we can just wire wool through it, but I don't really want to damage the original paint. I mean, the other thing is maybe some nitromorse, but I've used that before on vehicles to take old paint off an old bus I had. It's a camper van, which worked quite well, but I'm not quite sure how good that paint is underneath, because just there it's totally missing. Even scratching, there's no paint left on there. Scratch that and it's blue, but through here it's going straight down to bare metal. Whatever it is, it's also got like white lettering with a gold outline on. So what I'll do is I'll bring it in a minute so you can see it. So you may notice it's a little bit different looking than it was on the at the start of the video. So it's the next day. Had a little bit of work on it off camera just to see with the paint. So what I've actually managed to find is, as I was saying, you've got this sort of odd places, you've got this dark blue, so you've got some up here as well, but this writing is over the original paint. So I think originally it was light blue with odd dark blue accents, but then looking at this, obviously quite clear that's a H. We've got an A, I believe this is a L, we've got a part of D there, and maybe the start, I'm sort of winging it a little bit, but I think this is actually a Halford's bike, but not Halford's as we know it. I've done a little bit of research online, and Halford's as a company, other than selling car stereos and car accessories, originally it was called the Halford's Bike Company Limited, and these guys have been going years, probably 100 years plus, and this, so on the other side when I flip it over you'll see, so it's Halford's here, and then you've got SPOR, and I believe under there there'll be the T and the S, because on the other side when I show you. So this is it's called Halford Sports. So I've not actually found much about it. It is pretty much complete and original, including the handlebars, etc., and the wheels, which we had a look at. So what I'll do is I'll just flip the bike over. In fact, I'll just show you this. So basically it's looking pretty bad, but all I've done on that is use a small amount of wire wool, and hopefully you can see, now you can see my reflection. So before, just with a small amount of wire wool, it looks, whatever they've put on it, whether it's paint or whatever, it's protected the chrome. So I've done a little bit on the arm there as well. This isn't too good, but it's going to come up okay. I suppose it's always what I say, well, I don't want to paint it because I want to keep it original. I'm more into the kind of rat look stuff, and I mean, looking at these, even in some of these Halford original old bikes, maybe not as old as this, they're still only fetching in England probably 45, 50 pounds, 70 at a push. So how far do I want to go to make it, pristine and mint? Is it going to be worth much more? Probably not. So I think what would be really nice is to try and get a lot of this house paint off, try and retain as much of the old paint and lettering as possible, and maybe just clear coat it. I've something called the clear coat king, if I keep doing this with bikes. But then clean up the seat post and also the handlebars as best I can. I'll just show you this actually while we're here. So down here I've actually got the rear wheel soaking. So these other two wheels, so this one and this one, are off the Mobo chopper, and then that is the rear wheel off this bike. So obviously I've not got a lot of fluid in there, citric, so I'm having to do the bike in two turns. But this is the front wheel, which you saw before, and it's actually come up okay. As compared to what it was, you've still got a corrosion on there in places, but to be honest, for what we want, it's come up well. So what I've done is I've cleaned the centre as well, and these older bikes, I've got this sort of collar on here. So basically, I can turn it, get my hand in there and show you. So this collar, you pop this out the way, and there's a little hole there, so you can then put oil in and lubricate them, which is a great idea. So what I've done is I've kind of serviced that as well. You can see it's kind of wet around the end there, so I've oiled all the bearings. And then on the frame itself, and if you can see down here, just there, you've got, let's see if I can get in a better place. Don't think I can. Well, it's just there, you've got a little lift up cap, and basically that's another oil filler to oil the crank. So I've done that as well this morning, oiled that up, so that's running a lot smoother, a lot freer. The chain is gone, it's shot, so I'm going to put a new chain on. But yeah, I think what I'll do is I'll flip it around and then show you the other side so you can see what I've done about with the branding. Just bear with. Going back to what I was saying earlier, so on the other side we haven't got the word sports, we haven't got the S, the D, and probably what looks like an R, but we have got HAL. So that means I believe this is a Halford Sports. If anybody knows any better or any different, please give me a shout. This is probably a better view of that little oiler cap that I was saying there. So you lift that up, and then you can pop your oil in, then pop the cap back down, and that's done. There's also some original paint under there, dark blue, so there's another band on there. I think there's also some writing down here, so I'm going to try and get that. But what I'm going to do, actually, looking at that up here, there's also a frame number. Looks like that's AC8064, so that's something else I can look up on. So I think what we'll do now is we'll get this apart, get the seat out, get the post in the bath, same with the handlebars, get these off, get these bathed, and just basically start a proper tear down of it while the wheels are soaking. and then I don't know, I mean, comment below what you think. Obviously the mudguard I've done a little bit here but not much, as you can tell the difference here, but once again original mudguards. The pannier, I don't know, that's what I want. If you can put something down in the comments below, would you keep it? Would you just kind of strip it, clean it, paint it, put it back on? Because it has been on there for probably 80 years or 70 years. So do you do it, or do you just bin it off and try and take it back to a factory bike, even though it's still going to be a rat look? And as I say, it's just been battened on with a piece of ply in the past, so it would take, you know, a bit more work, but I can do it. But what do you want to see? I think, like I say, we're going to have this as a vintage rat ride. I've found some found some tyres. So as you said before, when you saw me in the earlier in the video, the 26 by 1¼ which is a bit of a ball ache really. So you've got that size, you've got 26 1 3/8, and these are all, by the looks of it, different. You can't interchange. So I've been looking at 26-inch wheels, 26-inch tyres for mountain bike. Nothing fits the same, so you have to go with what it's got. So I'm going to see if I can find some 700C wheels and see if the axles are the same off an old racer. But I don't really want to start ploughing loads of money into this. As I say, it's not going to be worth much when it's done, and whether I keep it as just a bike for going to, you know, at the festivals and shows, just something a bit different, or whether we just move it on and let somebody else enjoy it, I don't know yet. So let's put you back on the stand and join me in a minute. So it might be a little bit of a learning curve again. Everything seems to be a learning curve for me on this, because with it being a pre-decimalisation bike or pre-metric bike, and a lot of it would be kind of like 3/8 or whatever, you know, the older sizes, which, although I know about them, I don't use that often. So I know that 1/2 inch is the same as a 13mm. So what I'm going to do is probably be going back and forth looking for different kinds of spanners and stuff like that. So what I have done is I soaked all the kind of nuts that look like the C's on the brakes and on the handlebars, just to try and give me a head start. The cotter pins that are in the crank haven't done yet, so I might just leave them for now and come back to that, because I probably need to get these pedals off, because these are the original, they need some attention. I've managed to free them off a bit with some WD-40, but I think what we'll do is strip down and get the stuff in the bath to be soaking. I've got some new cables. I ordered a massive roll of inner and outer cables, because I know I'm going to be doing plenty of bikes, and I need some for the Rally Chopper project, which will be coming soon. Weather's getting better, so we'll be able to get some clear coat on that, as I keep saying. So without further messing, let's just get on and get this stripped down. So what I'll probably do is, as I always do, I'll start doing it, be quiet, get some high speed on there so you can just see some progress. So it says, if you can see on there, it says Lyset on there. It's an old Springer seat. So I'm probably going to try and strip that. They've even got the old springs underneath. Probably try and strip that down, because it seems to come apart. Hopefully it won't be seized up. Clean that up. Maybe have a look at the covering as well. But I think we'll make that go again. Bit something interesting. So if you can see on there, the brake pads. Right, look at that up actually. It says John Bull on it. So that must have been a manufacturer, or maybe still is a manufacturer of brake blocks. So might look that up as well. It says made in. It's got to be made in England, I imagine. Yeah, made in England, and number 25s. So might try and look into that, see what they are. The mudguard, a bit crusty, but I still think this is the original mudguard, so I think we'll try and do something with that. You've got the original paint underneath there as well, so yeah, something to have a go at. As I said, they've just taken a piece of ply, shaped it and cut it so it held it behind the tube on there, and then done it so they've kind of bent the framing on there. But yeah, like I said, it's quite crusty, everything I do is. But give me a shout what you want to see. Do you want it back on and painted, or do you want it to, well, either three options: patina look, painted, or not on at all. Let me know and we'll do that. Just check you guys can still see. I know those that stem is well and truly rusted in to the top of the forks. So what I'm going to have to do is leave that overnight or until next weekend to penetrate that, and then we can try and separate it. So I think what I'll do is I'll get the brake levers off, and then maybe try and get the crank out. Or even at least, actually I've oiled the crank, so that should be okay because it's a sealed. I might just try and get the arms off it and the pedals, and like I said, then we're going to be a bit stuck until I can separate that, because I'd like to get that soaked and get the forks out and get the chrome cleaned off on the top. But I'll get the brake levers off first. Now I'm probably just going to have to look for that type of brake end. So I think they're bullet ones. So I've got the rally chopper and such like that have something called a barrel end, which I think I've shown you in previous videos. This is slightly different, so I think what we'll probably do is just get a pack of those in as well. I've got some new end caps and new sheathing for it. The cable's actually okay, but you know, for the sake of it, might as well put new brakes in if we're going to go ahead and do stuff on it. Not sure what that is. It's a remnants of something. Whether it's an old lever, it's got a captive nut in there, so there's remnants of something that's sprung metal. So not sure, but we'll dip it. Might come in, might find use for it later. So we've just got the styrmy mechanism to take off. And then this little pivot wheel at the bottom that the gear cable runs on. think what kind of where we can be at the minute until I can free that off. When I can free that off, I can then take the stem out, drop the forks out. I'm going to leave those for now because they are usually pretty bad, so I might just soak those to get the pins out so I can clean them and get the pedals off. And I think then it's going to be a case of sanding or wire wooling more of this outer paint off. And there's a lot of paint that's just shelling off the metal on here as well, so that's gone right back down to metal. There's no old paint on it at all in areas, so that's going to take some looking. But yeah, I think what we'll do is now I'll just probably crack on and get some of this loose stuff taken off, and then I'll bring you back in a bit. Alright, so I battled on a little bit longer so with the, as you may have seen earlier, with the front forks I'd put a crowbar in between the forks with a cloth to try and protect what's left of the paint, and then I basically just wrestled it off the stand. It was on the floor on a piece of card. Just wrestled the forks, trying to twist them back and forth to loosen the stem out. Injected a bit of WD-40 penetrating oil up the stem, so kind of up from the bottom, so it kind of then soaked into the top where the stem was, and just basically worked it for about 5 minutes, and eventually they started moving and I've popped them out. So I'll just bring you down. So basically now we've got the top of the forks soaking in there because they're quite rusty, and on the top there's some chrome which is rusty, so hopefully that should bring it off. I've also got the stem and the bars in there, and then down here there's a little pot with all the nuts and bolts in soaking away. So I'll come back probably 24 hours time, have a look at those and see what they're like. On the frame I've done a little bit more. I got some wet and dry fine sandpaper and just kind of started trying to get the rough paint off, and then kind of went back to wire wool. So there's a lot of missing paint, and that's not through me sanding, that is literally just missing paint. All I've done is I've taken off the top layer of grey, and then I've gone back to wire wool, but you can see that there's not much left there on the bottom tube there. I've took a bit off, I've left it for now because I'm just not quite sure where we're going to go with it yet. Same with the top. There's kind of a mix of colours, so you've got the blue striping in there, and then it goes back to light blue, and on the seat post tube you've got basically, looks like dark blue, and then you've got the remnants of, I don't know if you can see a H and an A there, so that probably said Halfords down there. Just another branding on the bike, and then obviously we've got the seat number, if you can see that up there. Just give me a sec, try and zoom in so you can see it. 4C8006 I think that says, so that's something I'm going to look up in a bit. So I think that's going to call it for now. For today there's not much else I can do unless I'm going to continue to keep sanding, but I've had enough of that for now. I think we'll leave the stuff to soak, and then I'll bring you back in another episode, which I think by which time I should have some tyres and inner tubes coming. Found some on Facebook on the marketplace here in the UK, relatively cheap, because looking online it was like £30–40 for a set of tyres, and that's more than I even paid for the bike. So yeah, hopefully we'll have some parts come in, some parts to clean, so another episode and we should wrap this one up. Okay, that's again, as always, thanks for being with me. If you enjoyed the video or enjoy my other videos, please subscribe and hit the notifications. It's sort of like a bell or something that rings, I'm not sure, but I think you get notified when I release another video. But yeah, thanks for being with me while I've been spannering, and I'll catch you next time.